Alright, hey guys, it's Miss Summers. Today is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. October 31st, 2017. I'm not there, but I am there. Sort of. And today we're starting a brand new unit. This is Unit 5, Earth Science Peeps, on sustainability. So we're going to look at how we can live sustainably. Last unit we sort of talked about how people mess stuff up. So this unit we're sort of focusing on how can we make things better, because ultimately we don't want to talk about problems unless we're going to propose solutions. So to start today in this unit off, we're going to start by talking about our ecological footprint. And your goal is you're going to be able to explain how do my actions directly impact the footprint that I leave behind, and what are some actions that we can do, both individually and as a society, to reduce our ecological footprint. So let's start by first identifying what is an ecological footprint. Here's like the fancy Google definition: the impact of a person or community on the environment, shown as the amount of land required to sustain their use of natural resources. And the amount of land, the unit they will use, is called global hectares. I don't care if you remember that. If you're curious, one global hectare, which is you'll see it in writing as GHA, is equal to like 2.47 acres. So basically, in layman's terms, this impact is how much land you need to give you all the resources that you require. So that includes your energy resources, your food resources, the resources you need to supply the goods that you purchase, like clothes and shelter and things like that, as well as, let's see, food, transportation, energy, things like that. Okay? So, looking at ecological footprint, some of the things that we're going to look about, and you're going to measure your ecological footprint later today, but some of the questions that you're going to be asked is food consumption. What type? Do you eat mostly meat or vegetables or a mix? Are they processed or locally grown? Transportation. What do you use? Do you drive a car? Do you ride a bus? Do you walk? Do you bike? How far do you drive? All this will go into determining how much fuel you need and how much carbon dioxide you produce. Where you live. Do you live in a great big house, or do you live in an apartment that is energy efficient? Do you live with a lot of people, or do you have a lot of space to yourself? And lastly, how much energy you use in terms of electricity. Because remember, our electricity, for the most part in the United States, we mine coal or fossil fuels, so we use that resource to obtain this. All right, these are not the only factors, but these are the big ones we're going to look at. So here's a map of the world. It's a pretty map. And this is showing your nations with regards to their ecological footprint. And this is in global hectares per capita, so how much space each person requires. As you can see over here on our scale, the darker shades of red are large ecological footprints. Each person needs between 10 and 11 global hectares. And the lighter shades of red are smaller ecological footprints. So we here in the United States, I think we're between 8 and 9, it looks like. Europe, you have about 4 to 5 to 6 hectares, global hectares per person you require. The highest ones are actually over here on the Arabian Peninsula, places like Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is, places like that. So if you look at these countries with these super high footprints, I want you to think about, what does the United States and Canada and most of Western Europe and Australia and the part of the Arabian Peninsula. What do all these places have in common? What is the main connection? Answer yourself. What do all those things have? Hopefully what you're able to see is that all of those are developed nations. They are relatively wealthy, high GDPs, very industrialized. These nations typically have higher ecological footprints. And now that begs the question, well, why? Why is our footprint here in the US of A so much higher than it is in, most of the countries in South America, or most of the countries in Africa, or even India and China? Why is it so much higher? And the answer is in this quote. So with less than 5% of the world population, the United States uses 1/3 of the world's paper, 1/4 of the world's oil, 23% of the coal, 27% of the aluminum, and 19% of the copper. So even though we are few in the developed world, we use so many more resources. We have a lifestyle that includes having a lot of material things. All right, we use a lot of energy. We use a lot of things. We waste a lot of stuff. And that's what makes our footprint so high. And we don't necessarily want that. That's not a positive thing, right? So, fun little factoid. Here's a fun little infographic. If everyone on Earth, all 7.6 billion of us, used as much resources as the average American does, and remember, average means some use less, but some use more, we would need 5.3 whole Earths to support everybody. So we would need this much land space, this much place for resources, for resource extraction. We use a lot of stuff. Even though there's not a whole lot of us, we make a big impact. Okay? We don't have 5.3 Earths to work with. We just don't. We haven't found anywhere else just like this place. So we have to do something else, or this is going to become a huge problem. This is already starting to become a problem. So the question becomes, what can I do? So these next few slides have some options for you. These are easy actions that anybody could take, really. Anybody. You and your home, your family. That's not only going to reduce your ecological footprint, 9 times out of 10, it's going to economically benefit you. It's going to save you some money, so listen up. You can conserve energy by turning off lights when you're not in a room, or if you have a dimmer switch, you can install those. Those are very easy to install so you don't use as much electricity. Your family may, if you go to like Lowe's or Home Depot and your family's looking to buy like a new washing machine or a fridge, they might want to look for this little blue logo here, the Energy Star. That means that appliance is energy efficient. It doesn't require as much, all right? Programmable thermostats. At night, your body actually decreases in temperature at night, and while you're not awake, you don't really notice. Dial back the thermostat in the evening. Adjust your thermostats for the seasons appropriately. Don't cool an empty house if you're going to be away on vacation. You don't need to use that energy. Common sense stuff like that. In the wintertime, dress in layers. You don't need to have the thermostat at 80 if you put a sweater on. Right? When it comes to food, we Americans, we love our food. Food is a big deal. Eating less animal-based products. Remember, with animals, you have to use substantially more resources because you have to grow the food to feed the animals, and then you have to process them, and then you have to ship those products elsewhere. So by eating less animal-based products, you don't have to go full vegan. I mean, you can if you want to. That's awesome. Good for you. But substitute out one or 2 meals a week or a month or whatever you think you could handle. Have a vegetarian recipe that you try. Buy locally grown food so it doesn't have to be shipped. You don't have to use oil and gasoline and fuel to travel it across the country. Buy from your local farmers markets. All right, here's another neat little infographic. Carbon footprint of what you eat. this is a scale of how much carbon dioxide, remember that greenhouse gas, how much carbon dioxide you produce, or this greenhouse gas, this could also include methane, but how much greenhouse gases you make or are produced in making 1 kilogram of food. As you can see, here's where cars are. All right, on average, this is how much carbon dioxide they're producing in a given time period. Beef and lamb, look, for every 2 pounds of beef, so think like 4 half-pound burgers, that's 27, let's see, what is this, kilograms, grams? Yeah. 27 kilograms of carbon dioxide for 2 pounds of beef. 39, almost 40 kilograms, so that's 20 pounds of carbon dioxide for every 2 pounds of lamb. But there's other options. Instead of getting a lot of your protein from meat, from beef or lamb, which are red meats, maybe you could try fish or poultry, substantially less. Or even better, protein substitutes like beans or tofu or stuff like that. Right? In this picture, all right, yep, we already did. 27 kilograms of carbon dioxide is produced for each kilogram of beef. For chicken, it's substantially less, 6.9 kilograms carbon dioxide for each kilogram of chicken. And then beans, another very good source of protein, only 2 kilograms of carbon dioxide for every kilogram of beans produced. So keep that in mind. That's a personal choice that you can make on your own. Okay. Transportation. Please enjoy this meme. I thought it was funny. We talked about this in our class. Americans, we are a very car-oriented society. We do enjoy our cars, and it's sort of how our cities and towns are based. Where cars, to a certain extent, are sort of necessary in some cases. I mean, I can't walk to work because I live like 10 miles away. But carpool with each other. So you have less cars on the road. Choose a fuel-efficient vehicle. You don't have to have a vehicle necessarily unless you have a very specific occupation that gets 2 miles to the gallon. Pay attention to things like that. Use public transportation. Walk if you can to places. Bike if you can. Not only is that going to save the environment or help by reducing your footprint, you're going to save a lot of money. You're going to look at all those gallons of gasoline you don't have to purchase. Yes, it's getting more expensive. Look at all that time and frustration you don't have to deal with. All right. So again, something to think about. All right, shopping. As you shop, if you go to the grocery store with your family shopping, and hopefully you do, because you need to learn how to do that, using reusable grocery bags. If you shop at Aldi like I do, they don't have plastic grocery bags, which is cool. Like, we use the same bag over and over again. And that way we don't have to get plastic, we don't have to drill for oil. That helps tremendously. Buy products with less packaging. This is quite humorous. This is on the Twitter somewhere. I don't know what grocery store this is. I think it's at Whole Foods, where they peel oranges and then put them in plastic. And this plastic, mind you, used to be oil down below the surface of the earth. And it had to be extracted and refined again, and then packaged and shipped and molded. And that's just a waste. Buying things that are second-hand. If you're somebody who enjoys, going out every month and buying new outfits, instead of creating a demand to make new stuff, have something else. Use something else that already has been. That way we reduce how many resources we need. Right. And lastly, we can conserve our water. Taking shorter showers. Most people, your faucets at home are probably 5 to 7 gallons a minute. So if you take a 20-minute shower, which let's be honest, some of y'all do, that's 140 gallons. Your parents would grandly appreciate that if you could cut that in half. Brushing, even something as simple as brushing your teeth. If you just shut that water off, you save a bunch of water. Fixing leaky faucets or pipes. Over the course of a year, these leaks in households, again, these are not like floods, these are just little drip, 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 drip leaks. We waste over 1 trillion gallons worth of water. And that, we could use that water for something else or save it. All right, so with that in mind, what steps will you take? All right, what steps are you going to take to reduce this footstep and make sure that we can live sustainably?